Good morning. Dobra horanko. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to day one of the U.S.-Ukraine Defense Industrial Base Conference. My name is Jason Israel. I'm the Senior Director for Defense Policy at the National Security Council, and I'm thrilled to be joining you today as part of this three-day event that brings together over 350 government and industry representatives to explore opportunities for co-production and other industrial cooperation for Ukraine. First, I'd like to give a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, from whom you will all hear opening remarks in this first portion of the day. U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, U.S. Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, Penny Pritzker, the Special Representative for Ukraine Economic Recovery, Head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Mr. Andriy Yermak, Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, Ruslan Stefanchuk, Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Rustem Umerov, Minister for Strategic Industries of Ukraine, Oleksandr Kamyshin. I also note today the presence of nearly 40 NATO national armaments directors. Thank you for representing your countries and your defense industrial bases today. We have seen the successes of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, and we understand that the long-term economic success of Ukraine's defense industrial base will require a coordinated, long-term international effort. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to meeting many of you today, and I look forward to the discussion that we will all have. With that, we will start the day with the opening remarks from our host, U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. Good morning, man. Good to see you.
Good morning, thank you. Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to see all of you, to see such a full auditorium. We were backstage in the green room and somebody said, Secretary, it's the real deal. It's every company that you'd want to show up. So thank you for your commitment and thank you for being here. Special thank you to the members of the Ukrainian government. Huge delegation from Ukraine, thank you. Special welcome to your ambassador, who is doing an unbelievable job. I don't know how you do it. And to former Commerce Secretary Pritzker, a dear friend, a great leader. This is a big deal. This is a two-Commerce Secretary event. So that's how you know we are really serious about getting this job done. We brought in the big guns, and Penny's doing a wonderful job in her new mission as the ambassador for Ukrainian rebuilding, and we're going to work hand in glove in that. So I'm as excited as I am to have all of you. It's obviously a sober event and a sober reason that we are brought together. Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine has, as everyone here knows, resulted in the deaths of thousands of Ukrainian men, women, and children, destroyed cities, towns, hospitals, schools, and relentlessly attacked your critical infrastructure. And on top of that, this war has unleashed a global energy crisis, pushing grain prices to record high and displacing thousands of people from their homes. It's illegal, it's immoral, and we stand with Ukraine, and we will stand with you to the end. I hope everyone here knows and agrees that President Biden has acted with speed, urgency, and resolve from the moment that the invasion happened. And as I said earlier, our support, and this is coming from the top and shared by everyone here, is unwavering. Your fight is our fight, and we'll be with you until the end of the fight. It's been 22 months since Russia launched the attack. And we have, I hope you see, it's been an unprecedented and coordinated set of export controls led by the Commerce Department that are restricting Russia's access to vital technological inputs. We've done the same with financial sanctions, doing our best to provide humanitarian assistance, and of course, most critically and most vitally, sending military equipment and technology and training that is bolstering Ukraine's ability to defend itself. And I know Secretary Austin, if he's not here, will be here shortly. And he has done, I think, a remarkable job leading this response, and he and his team are also unwavering. The truth of it is, as I said, and we mean it, your fight is our fight. Your success on the battlefield is crucial, not just for you, but for the security of Europe. And it sends a message throughout the world to authoritarian governments everywhere, not just in Russia, all over the world, that the United States stands by our friends and stands for freedom. And that's why we're so committed to seeing this through to the end. For our part here at the Commerce Department, we're continuing constantly, vigilantly, daily, weekly, to tighten our restrictions on the export controls and enforce penalties against those who are trying to circumvent our export controls to provide Russia with restricted items. And that's across the world. You know, it's not just Russia, it's those aiding and abetting the Russians to get the military equipment, the drones, the spare parts that they need to continue to conduct this war. BIS has also helped to prioritize export licenses for urgently needed items for the Ukrainian Defense Forces. And at the same time, ITA, which we also run here at the Commerce Department, the International Trade Administration, continues connecting U.S. companies with Ukrainian companies that are in need of goods and services. And earlier this year, we extended the temporary suspension of tariffs on Ukrainian steel imports. The ambassador came to see me with the delegation and said, Secretary, we got to get rid of the tariffs. And as speedily as we could, we were able to do that. The U.S. business community, all of you here and even more broadly, has stepped up in support of Ukraine by providing emergency aid and services, donating funds and in-kind support, including life-saving medicine, telecommunications equipment, satellite equipment, IT infrastructure, medical devices, and harnessing our industry expertise in every way that we can. The people of Ukraine have remained strong. Unbelievably strong. You're showing the world what it means to have resolve, to fight for your values, and to dig deep within yourselves to find the courage that you need to continue. We are all taking notice of that, and it inspires us in a very real way to see you stay so tough in the face of Putin's brutality. And we are going to feed off of your strength and resolve so that our support can continue to match your resolve. We know the importance of resilient Ukrainian defense industrial base, and that's what today and tomorrow are all about. We are committed to helping Ukraine leverage and expand your own considerable defense industrial base capabilities. You have a strong defense industrial base. We need to lean in to work with you in partnership in the private sector and the public sector to strengthen it and to deepen it, to make it more innovative. And a big thank you to the DoD and the Pentagon. You're really pushing the limits here on creativity and innovation and working with a broad base of the private sector to get this done with and for Ukraine. So my hope for today and tomorrow, and of course the weeks and months ahead, is that the United States and Ukrainian companies will come together more closely in partnership, will communicate. I want you to come out of here with concrete ideas, concrete partnerships on how you can collaborate. And so that we can continue to defend Ukraine today and tomorrow. And our job at the Commerce Department is to help you break down barriers, enable communication, enable those partnerships so that we can actually produce what we need to produce, which is an even stronger, more resilient Ukrainian defense industrial base. So that's what we want to do today. We stand ready to assist you in doing that. I hope you reach out to us. Everyone in the private sector here, I hope you reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to help. I hosted a meeting a few months ago with the trade minister from Ukraine, with U.S. insurance carriers and brokers and banks. We want to continue to do that. We want to get it done, a deal at a time, a company at a time, and then build from there. So, as I said, we're with you every step of the way. We stand with you today and tomorrow until the end, until victory. So, Slava Ukraine. It's now my honor to introduce a very special guest for today, your president, who has given the world a master class in leadership, a master class in courage, strength, resilience, how to lead with principle and dignity and resolve. And he has been laser focused on ensuring that Ukraine and the Ukrainian people prevail in the face of Russia's unjust invasion. And I can say on a personal level, I have found inspiration and strength in his leadership and in his courage and brilliance, and I know the rest of the world has. So he's dedicated not just to winning the war, but also to this mission of rebuilding Ukraine and developing a strong, free, prosperous Ukrainian economy. So please welcome a message from President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm grateful for the opportunity to address you and to say that our agreement between Ukraine and America regarding joint defense production is becoming more concrete, step by step. Today in Ukraine, we celebrate the Day of our Armed Forces. And today most Christians in Ukraine also celebrate St. Nicholas Day, a very bright family holiday, a holiday for all our children, a day when we give our children what they have dreamed of, and we dream of what we would want for ourselves. This morning, I congratulated Ukraine on the Armed Forces Day and thanked all our warriors, all our heroes, men and women who are in battle in the trenches, at combat posts, on a combat missions. I visited a hospital where our wounded defenders are being treated. And I visited a children's hospital here in Kyiv, where little children affected by this war are recovering and undergoing rehabilitation. For instance, a girl, her name is Marina, who is 7 years old, and she's from Kherson, from Kherson region. Last May, a Russian shell hit her family's house. It was a usual house, one of the hundreds of thousands destroyed by Russian strikes. Unfortunately, as a result of that strike, Marina lost a leg and underwent amputation. She became the first child with a war injury to be fitted with a prosthesis in Ukraine. She's a strong girl. And today I was happy to see her smile and her joy, the fact that she can walk. She even plays football and she can dream. She dreams to become a racer, dreams of Formula One, a kid who lives her own life and is preparing to become an adult. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the United States and everyone who supports Ukraine and our people for the fact that we have endured in this war and maintain normal life on most of our territory, for protection for our people, opportunities for our children, hospitals that are working, open schools, ordinary life in usual cities and villages. None of this would be possible without our brave defenders, both men and women, without the weapons and ammunition that help us preserve the freedom and independence of Ukraine. Without the cooperation with our partners and the consolidation of the free world, which allow us not only to defend our independence, but also gradually regain control of our territory occupied by Russia. Since February 24th of last year, we have already liberated half of the territory captured by Russia. We are holding the front line, and it is up to our warriors, our initiative, what the front in Ukraine will be. This year, we won the battle in the Black Sea. Historically significant result. For the first time, the Russian Empire is forced to hide the remnants of its naval fleet in the most remote base of the Black Sea. Our ports are operating. The maritime export corridor is operational, restoring food security to the whole world. For the first time since the start of the large-scale aggression, we are witnessing economic growth in Ukraine. Our defense productions are working. Ukrainian missiles, Ukrainian drones, artillery produced in Ukraine, ammunition that are being delivered to the front line. Moreover, we are increasing production together with our partners. During my last visit to Washington, I talked with President Biden about how Ukraine and the United States of America together could launch defense projects that will be significant for the security of entire Europe. This includes the production of air defense systems, because if our air shield is strong enough, it will protect the entire eastern flank of Europe. We agreed on cooperation with President Biden, and today this forum is happening, and I'm especially grateful for the bipartisan and bicameral support of Congress, for reliability in relations with the United States, and for support from many Americans. We are eager to continue cooperation. We are interested in our joint strengths, work for the security of our people, and we are interested in joint production with you of the full spectrum of weapons necessary for modern warfare: artillery, armored vehicles, drones, maintenance and service of equipment, security on land, in the sky, at the sea. Ukraine does not want to depend only on partners. Ukraine aims and really can become a donor of security for all our neighbors once it can guarantee its own safety. We really can do this. It is absolutely realistic, and I invite all American defense companies to cooperate with Ukraine, and I'm confident that together we can create a new and powerful arsenal of freedom, which will be a reliable helper for all free nations of the world. An arsenal that, by the mere fact of its existence, will guarantee our children, the children of Europe, the children of America, the children of all the world, that no Russian or other evil shell will ever again destroy our peaceful life. United, we can accomplish much more than any of us alone. So let's continue to work together for the greater power of freedom. Our team is right now in Washington and will present precise perspectives and opportunities. Thank you. Thank you all for your attention. America, thank you for your vitally crucial support. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Secretary Raimondo. Thank you, President Zelenskyy. It is now my honor to introduce the United States Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin.
Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Good. Well, thanks, Jason, for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here for such an important conversation. Today's event highlights the close partnership between the Department of Defense and the Commerce Department. And Secretary Raimondo and I were both at the Reagan National Defense Forum in California over the weekend. And we both carried the same message. The United States stands firmly with the people of Ukraine. And we're going to be with them for the long haul. So let me welcome Minister Umerov and Mr. Yermak and the entire Ukrainian delegation. I know that the trip to Washington isn't easy, but we really appreciate you being here today. Today's meeting happens to fall on Ukraine Armed Forces Day. And Ukrainian troops have shown incredible courage and skill defending their country. So let's give them a round of applause. It's also great to be joined by representatives from our allies and partners and by so many of our friends in the defense industrial base. We're grateful for your energy and your partnership. And over the past 21 months, that teamwork has proven more important than ever. As Putin wages his vicious war of choice against Ukraine. Now, I was back in Kyiv a couple of weeks ago, and I had the chance to meet with Rustem, as well as President Zelenskyy and General Zelenskyy. And that visit just underscored the cost, the human cost, of Putin's tragic and unnecessary war. And yet, it was another reminder of the resilience of the Ukrainian people. Since the start of Putin's war of choice, the United States and our allies and partners have worked to get key weapons systems and capabilities into the hands of Ukrainian fighters. And that's making a huge difference. Since Putin's cruel and unprovoked invasion of his peaceful neighbor in February 2022, Ukrainian troops have taken back more than half of the territory grabbed by Putin. Above all, that's a testament to the fighting spirit of the Ukrainian people. But Ukraine's gains also hinge on the extraordinary coalition of some 50 allies and partners worldwide that we have forged. The United States has committed more than $44 billion in security assistance since the start of Putin's reckless war. And our allies and partners have committed another $36 billion. And as a percentage of their GDP, more than a dozen countries have actually contributed more than the United States. Now, President Biden has laid down a clear objective. The United States seeks a free and sovereign Ukraine that can defend itself today and deter more Russian aggression in the future. And so, together with our allies and partners, we must continue working to help Ukraine repel Russian forces today and to build a future force for Ukraine that can deter more Russian aggression in the years to come. That will mean strengthening Ukraine's defense industrial base, both to maintain Ukraine's current war effort and to bolster Ukraine's national strength and deterrence long into the future. And that's been an important opportunity for partnership with our own defense industrial base. You know, one of our key strategic advantages is the power of our free enterprise system. And that's especially important with the challenges facing Ukraine. We've already invested around $27 billion across more than 35 states for contracts to produce critical capabilities for Ukraine, including life-saving air defense systems, munitions, tactical vehicles, and other equipment. And I hope that Congress will soon pass the President's urgent national security supplemental request, which would include another $50 billion to flow through the U.S. industrial base. And so much of the money in the supplemental will come right back to us through investments in American jobs. And all of this money will come right back to us through investments in American security. At the same time, we must expand Ukraine's capacity to sustain the many different systems and platforms being provided by allies and partners around the world. So we're working to make technical data packages and advanced manufacturing capabilities more readily available. And that will let the Ukrainians produce spare parts closer to the point of need and more swiftly return vital equipment to the fight. We must also strengthen the logistical and information technology systems that bind all of these efforts together. A robust and resilient industrial base that has hot production lines with strong, secure supply chains. And by gathering here today, we're working together to bring the full power of American free enterprise and American innovation to bear to reach that goal. Now, we're going to hear directly from our Ukrainian friends today about their short-term and long-term objectives for their defense industrial base. I'd like to challenge everyone in this room to think about how we can act to meet those objectives. How can we have more frequent and robust dialogue between our respective industry partners and open even more doors to Western investment? How can we break down bureaucratic processes and other barriers to produce greater cooperation? And how can we do all of this while promoting transparency and responsible corporate governance? Time and again over our history, we've called on the full might of American industry. And our partners in the private sector have always stepped up. And the last 2 years have been no different. So we've all come here together once again to strengthen the arsenal of democracy. Together with our allies and partners, I am confident that we have all the pieces that we need to help our Ukrainian friends sustain their fight for their sovereignty over the long haul. It's up to us to put those pieces together. At the end of the day, we all benefit from the dynamic industrial bases of our global allies and partners. And that's important far beyond Europe. The whole world is watching, and so we must come together to meet this moment. So thanks again for being here, and thanks for stepping up to answer this challenge. And we look forward to a great conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It is now my honor to welcome to the stage our United States Special Representative for Ukraine Economic Recovery, Penny Pritzker.
Good morning. Good morning. I may hold this just so you can hear me. I'm not quite as loud or as forceful, but I do have something to say as our Secretary of Defense, but I do have something to say that I want to make sure you hear. So ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm really extremely pleased to be here today, back in my old stomping grounds at the Department of Commerce, where I had the privilege to serve with some of the finest public servants, the good people of this great department. And I, along with Secretary Raimondo, Secretary Austin, and others, are all present here today to demonstrate the United States' commitment to investing in and building Ukraine's defense industry. This event continues the critically important discussions on Ukraine's defense industrial base that President Zelenskyy kicked off in September at the first Industrial Defense Industries Forum in Kyiv. Essential to our collective success are our terrific partners from the Ukrainian government, and we're really thrilled to have Andrei Yermak here, to have Minister Kamyshin, to have Minister Umerov, and my friend, Ambassador Markarova. So thank you all for being here, and welcome. Welcome. So let me start with a fundamental premise. As everybody in this room knows, security is an economic issue. But let me be clear, economic resilience is a national security issue. In fact, economic resilience is a core tenet of Ukraine's war effort. Ukraine's national security and its economy form a double helix, indelibly intertwined in the country's effort to beat Putin on the battlefield and to beat Putinomics, the Putinomics of authoritarianism, corruption, kleptocracy, and state capture by oligarchs. That double helix between security and economic resilience is why President Biden included $11.8 billion in budget support and $2.2 billion for economic project assistance for Ukraine in his national security supplemental package. Make no mistake, American economic support for Ukraine is a core element of our security assistance, a point that often gets lost in the debate here in Washington. It's also why President Biden asked me to work with the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian people, the private sector, the international community, and others to address the foundational issues required to attract private sector investment to Ukraine. Security is first and foremost, but also we have to work together with the Ukrainians to accelerate reforms, to support the development of key infrastructure necessary to expand economic access and increase exports, unlock new tools like war risk insurance and maritime insurance to help companies manage risk, to help Ukraine have the capability to reintegrate its refugees and its veterans, two communities that are essential for Ukraine's economic success and social cohesion, and finally, to make Russia pay for the severe damage it has done. On this last point, G7 leaders have committed to keep Russian sovereign assets in their jurisdictions immobilized until Russia is held accountable. So addressing these 6 foundational issues facing Ukraine is necessary, but it is not sufficient to achieve our goals. We must also focus on Ukraine's potential for industrial leadership, particularly in critical sectors like agriculture, technology, critical minerals, mining and steel, energy, transportation and logistics, and the one that we're here today to discuss, defense production. In fact, Ukraine's future as a sustainable, digital, clean, competitive European Ukraine that is integral to global markets must be rooted in its ability to defend itself, united with a strong industrial defense base. Prior to Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022, Ukraine was one of the world's largest weapons exporters, always among top 20 countries in terms of arms exports. Even now, actually especially now, Ukraine has a lot to offer Western defense companies as a market for defense in the short run, as well as it works to beat the Russian onslaught, and as an exporter in the long run as Ukraine takes global market share away from Russia. At Ukraine's first Defense Industries Forum in Kyiv in September, President Zelenskyy highlighted that Ukraine can and will become a donor of global security as one of the world's key producers of weapons and defense systems. There is great potential to harness their existing institutional knowledge, invest in their modernization, and help Ukraine move towards self-reliance. Right now, there are more than 500 Ukrainian defense industry companies employing hundreds of thousands of people. Factories are adding workers to meet war needs. Salaries are higher than average. More and more components are Ukrainian-made. And by the end of the war, the lion's share of the industry will be in the hands of private companies, not state-owned enterprises. They're working on repairs, 3D printing of parts, and crucially, on production. Ukraine's tech and IT sectors have continued to expand, most notably in drone technology and cyber. Ukraine's government estimates that there will be more than 10 Ukrainian defense industry unicorns, meaning companies with a value over $1 billion, in the foreseeable future. For these reasons, we want to hit the accelerator button on our U.S.-Ukrainian partnership to build capacity and strengthen the trajectory of Ukraine's defense sector. That is why the United States is announcing that we will be establishing a Ukraine deal team that U.S. industry can turn to for a one-stop shop when you encounter regulatory bumps in the road when looking to invest in Ukraine's defense industrial base. This deal team will be comprised of representatives from offices within the United States government, including the Departments of Defense, Commerce, and State, and will focus on helping U.S. companies of all sizes doing business in Ukrainian markets. This team will deploy all available U.S. government tools, including resources and expertise, to help U.S. companies compete and succeed in the Ukrainian defense industry. At the same time, we want to support Ukraine's push to develop cutting-edge defense production that supports its push for NATO interoperability, EU accession, and global competitiveness. So as well today, the United States is announcing our plans to embed an advisor in Ukraine's Ministry of Strategic Industries, pending congressional authorization, who will support reform, accelerate Ukraine's transition to Western interoperability military force and transparency, and attract foreign investment in critical industries. So in closing, the United States partnership with Ukraine's defense industrial base supports our collective ambition of revitalizing the Ukrainian economy and serves the country's fight against Russian aggression. So, that is the double helix at work. Security enables Ukraine's economy, economic resilience hardens security. This is the positive feedback loop that we are here to invest in together. So thank you again for being here today, and I look forward to working together.
Thank you, ma'am. It is now my honor to welcome to the stage beginning with our Ukrainian delegation, beginning with the head of the Office of the President, Mr. Andriy Yermak.
Good morning. Dear Secretary Raimondo, Secretary Austin, Special Representative Pritzker, Speaker Stefanchuk, Minister Umerov, Minister Commission. Dear colleagues and friends, let me thank you for the start. Firstly, for assistance that allowed Ukraine to withstand the aggressor, to stop the horde. Secondly, for the aid that helped us push it back. And Ukrainians sincerely believe in this. It will help to drive the Russians out our land. We have already liberated 50% of the territory which sides during the full-scale invasion. And we will not stop until we completely deoccupied all our territories in the international recognized border. The thanks for the Saint Javelins with ablaze Russian tank columns on the approach to Kiev. For the Patriots, which created reliable shields of the Ukrainian cities against Russian missiles. They are able to hit anything, including kinzhals, that the Kremlin's doubled at the hypersonic wonder weapon. And effective demonstrations of this capability took place in June. Then the delegation of African states leaders was in Kiev. That day, they downed all 6 of those missiles. And since then, a toll has risen up to the 25. I know there are here the representatives of Return among us. Say thanks of your employees from Ukraine. Thank all of them, because now our children are safer. But also thank each of the manufacturers who has helped us defend our freedom. BAE System, Boeing, General Dynamics, Honeywell, Lockheed Martin, Rheinmetall, Saab, and all those who I did not call. Sorry for that. We don't remember your names. And Ukrainian people praise you. You literally save thousands of the lives of our people. Thanks for the ammunitions. Thanks for the 777 Holder style. Our soldiers tenderly called them free access. For the HIMARS systems, Ukrainians fell in love them from the first shoots at the strategically important Antonovka bridge in Kherson. And they loved them then more than each Atacam salvo. In our social media, people are arguing whatever with these names are legged for the children. Sure, Otskov or Bradley are considered acceptable. However, the legendary M2 was not as fortunate. Madius is a name what suits a grandmother rather than a grandson. Still, they done an excellent job. As always, sure meet assault participants cannot confirm it. Unfortunately, I can't mention every weapon and piece of equipment that help us in the war against Russian tyranny. But I assure you, Ukrainian defense forces are making good use of them. At the same time, I need to point out that having such an aggressive neighbor like Russia, Ukraine cannot and will not entirely depend on the foreign providers of the military aid. We must take care of our own defense capability. Moreover, we have our own weapons to be proud of. The Ukrainian defense industry today is sustained by young people. We are not afraid of the new. Quite often, we make prototype rides in their garages, and they successfully scale up productions. Recently, I met the students who developed cutting-edge weapons for the defense of our state. Their innovations successfully pass harsh tests by real combat. Our country provides for the new possibility what have not been calculated yet. Collaboration will make us all stronger. Other crises have already united. They are integrating their military industry. It's time for the free world to do the same. Time to join our talent and efforts. This conference was agreed upon by the President Biden and President Zelenskyy, and I believe it will be a starting point of the joint productions of the weapons and they conceived. Ukraine needs the localizations of the modern weapons productions for fight successfully. Europe needs to strengthen its capabilities to deter the aggressor. The United States needs greater industrial power to remain the beacon of the global democracy. We came here with a very specific goal, to establish cooperation. First of all, I'm talking about ammunition, air defense systems, and long-range missiles. Back home, they say that the goods should have strong fists. However, to stop the new axis of evil, fists alone are not enough. Recently, President Zelenskyy and the team traveled to the Zaporizhia region. We met with the servicemen here. The situation on the Eastern Front is challenging. The aggressor is attempting to amass its forces. However, our soldiers are sure they can't break their plans. And do you know why? I tell you what one of the soldiers told me. Nothing builds confidence like live ammo. So let's provide them together for the sake of Ukraine and the entire free world. Thank you very much. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Mr. Yermak. I am now pleased to invite to the stage Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, Ruslan Stefanchuk.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to be here among you at this important gathering and to speak to such a distinguished audience. Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war of aggression against Ukraine has changed Europe. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has exposed many global, European, and regional problems, and laid bare the fragility of the security architecture. We are moving towards Ukraine's membership in NATO, seen as the best guarantee not only of our security, but also for the strengthening of the alliance. Currently, the only things that can stop the aggressor is weapons, ammunition, and sanctions. The required nomenclature is known, well known. The volumes are known. What is needed is decision and actions.
Thanks to the strong and consistent position of the United States administration, powerful bipartisan support of the Congress, and the solidarity of the American people, Ukraine continued to fight back against the aggressor, regaining its land after day and hard-fought battles. We cannot stop. The slightest concession to Putin's regime will push it to commit even more terrible crimes against the Ukrainian people. That is why the Ukrainian parliament is taking decisive steps to support and domestic defense industry. Last month, we introduced amendment to the budget code according to which the personal income tax paid from the state budget of the Ukrainian will be redirected in wartime to meet urgent needs such as the development of the domestic defense industry and the purchase of drones. We will also give the boost to the national economy. In September, the Parliament of Ukraine decided that the state will guarantee the executors to state defense procurement contracts compensation for all economically justified, expended, incurred in the execution of this contract, as well as amount of a profit as a part of the cost of defense goods, work and service, in accordance with the terms of state contracts. Thus, at the legislative, the issues of profit for all suppliers of the Minister of Defense has been finally settled. At the same time, Russia is changing its strategy, forcing upon us the war of attrition. It is important that everyone understands that Ukraine will not be able to withstand this type of the warfare for a long time. Therefore, it's critical that our partners and allies provide us with the latest technological means to turn the tide of the war. It is not only Ukraine that Russia is trying to bleed out. By blocking Ukrainians' food exports, Russia is testing the resolve of the civilized war to continue to support the Ukrainian people. Just like 90 years ago, Russia continued to weaponize hunger, destroying Ukraine's infrastructure and the logistics system for transporting grain from Ukraine. But unlike the crimes of the Stalinist regime against us Ukrainians, Russia's actions today pose a global threat to millions of people around the world. The Kremlin is undermining food security and social stability both in Europe and in dozens of countries of global south. The key of overcoming Russian terror, which is spreading to more and more countries, is to provide Ukraine with all necessary military tools to neutralize the military potential of the aggressor country. We must deprive the terrorist state of both political and economical means, wreak havoc and destruction in Europe and beyond. The Ukrainian people have already provided that they have the will, strength, and determination to fight for their future. In the family of free and democracies European states, Ukraine has already proven that it is capable of repelling the threats from the East and defending European democracies. All branches of the Ukrainian government are working together toward a single goal, strengthening the country, the defense capabilities to bring it closer to NATO and EU membership. I call on the leader of the United States and the distinguished representatives of the American defense business present here to continue to support Ukraine. on this path by providing defense, economic, humanitarian assistance, because only together we can guarantee peace and security for future generations in the Euro-Atlantic area. For my part, I am guaranteeing my personal support to all effective defense initiatives destined to help bring our common victory close and stop the Russia terror. Thank you for your attention, and Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm now honored to welcome to the stage the Ukrainian Minister of Defense, Mr. Rustem Umerov.
Dear colleagues, today we have a special day back in Ukraine, so I'm honored to represent men and women in uniform, to which I salute the glory. Dear colleagues, I'm grateful to the Department of Commerce, Defense and State and U.S. National Security Council for co-hosting this event today. The United States is Ukraine's most important strategic partner, ally, and a friend. It is crucial and symbolic that our localization track, the development of Ukraine's domestic defense industry, starts in Kiev and continues in Washington, D.C. A few months ago, in September, Ukraine hosted the first International Defense Industries Forum in Kiev, which gathered more than 200 companies in Ukraine. We have signed more than 20 agreements on cooperation and are now taking specific steps every day toward their execution. We're increasing the capacity of our defense and industrial base day by day. Our factories started producing multiple armaments that bring our victory closer. From various ammunition and artillery shells to NATO-caliber artillery systems and missiles, from anti-tank systems to naval drone and UAVs. This is what will ensure Russia's defeat on the battlefield. This is what will make our partners stronger in the future. We are gaining experience from every use of weapons. Our warriors have tested military hardware and software in a way that is impossible in peacetime. We have the knowledge no other country at the moment has today, and we are ready to share it with our partners. The localization of the defense industry in Ukraine will provide technologies and solutions that have been tested in real battle. Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Strategic Industries are ready to facilitate all processes to establish joint ventures and defense investments in Ukraine. We launched the Defense Industries Alliance, which is now counting up to 70 countries worldwide. We invite you to join the alliance and develop Ukraine's military industry jointly. Enhancing Ukraine's defense industrial base is a matter of Ukraine's and United States' national security interests. Ukraine's victory is a guarantee of long-lasting peace in Europe and worldwide. Today is the 651st day of the Russian full-scale invasion and 10th year of Russian aggression in Ukraine. The world has no experience of fighting such a big enemy army for so many years after World War II. I know one simple truth. Freedom depends on a well-equipped and trained warrior. Freedom requires united efforts for protection. Tyrannies and terrorist networks around the world are cooperating and building up their resources. Free democracies can and must respond. Our country is developing and testing weapons that will protect the free world in coming decades. Let's continue moving united to bring the victory of Ukraine closer. Free democracies around the world require an arsenal that can guarantee peace and stability for the future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Defense Minister. And we have one final speaker before we move on with our program. And I'm pleased to welcome to the stage the Ukrainian Minister of Strategic Industries, Mr. Oleksandr Kamyshin.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each one of you present in this room for standing with us for already 651 days in this great war. Your support is crucial. Trust me, it's not an easy job to speak after such a great line of speakers, but I will try to speak not about political matters, but about business. My mission is to grow defense industry in Ukraine, and industry, above all, it's all about business opportunities. An opportunity to rapidly ramp up production capabilities, as Ukraine is the place where defense industry regulation is most favorable to the producer. An opportunity to improve your products and ensure their effectiveness in real combat conditions by leveraging the experience of Ukrainian engineers and armed forces. We'll be happy to share lessons learned in defense tech as well. After all, it's defense tech that allows creating asymmetrical responses to the force of the enemy, because he is quantitatively advantageous. It's an opportunity to open up new markets. We all know that the war depleted stocks and warehouses of the whole world. These warehouses will need to be replenished. But Ukraine is unique in providing longer-term perspectives. Besides filling NATO's countries' warehouses after the war, Ukrainian manufacturers will be equipped with the experience of transitioning from Soviet standard weaponry to NATO standard weaponry, can deliver this expertise to countries in this global south, which currently rely on arms supplied by Russia. A good example of such transition is the Franken-Sam portfolio of projects, and it's about creating hybrid solutions that combine Soviet and NATO elements. This program is already underway, and I would like to express my special thanks to Undersecretary LaPlante and his team, especially Laura Cooper and William Schreiber, and of course, US Army and US defense industry. I strongly believe that after this war finishes with the victory of Ukraine, together we can capture Russia's market share in weapons export, as Secretary Pritzker said. I want to thank US government for hosting us here today with this conference. Earlier this year, in September, we held our first defense industry forum in Kyiv under the leadership of my President Zelenskyy. And we were happy to welcome 13 US companies from defense industry and Arizona Defense Industry Coalition. Now we are here with 38 Ukrainian companies, and both state-owned and private, and we are here to discuss joint operations in Ukraine. Again, I'm grateful for all the aid we already received, and I hope we'll keep receiving, because no single nation can withstand against a tyranny alone. But I'm here to show you business opportunities in Ukraine for US defense industry. We've been building ourselves as a peaceful agricultural country. We've been known as the breadbasket of Europe. But this war forced us to rebuild ourselves as the arsenal of the free world. Let's build it together. Thank you.
Thank you to all our tremendous, tremendous speakers. These remarks were educational, inspiring, and provide an excellent introduction to the plan for the rest of the day. Now, I promise shortly I will allow you to take a break and stretch your legs and grab some coffee. But first, in a demonstration of the concrete outcomes of today, we'd like to hold a signing ceremony. And what I'd like to do is to invite back to the stage Minister Kamyshin and Minister Umarov, and welcome to the stage our Undersecretary of Defense, Mr. William LaPlante.
Should we see?
Today they are signing a statement of intent on co-production and technical data exchange, which will prioritize co-production and technical data exchange to address the urgent operational needs of the armed forces of Ukraine, including in the areas of air defense systems, repair and sustainment, and production of critical munitions.
Так, де підписувати? Де? Тут. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. We'll break for 15 minutes, and then please be seated after that as we move on with our program.